Hello and welcome to the Meet Cute, with a podcast where we talk about all things romantic comedy, but mostly the bad ones. My name is Zach.
My name's Haley.
I'm Eddie New Year.
It's our it's our last episode of the year. It's New Year's Eve today. We did it, guys. It's our last one. And as a little fun fact, it's also our 20th episode.
Oh, that's fun.
That feels like a milestone,
Yeah.
right?
This is weird because we're recording it in the past and we're talking about the future.
Well, we're not going to record it in the future and beam it back to December 31st.
Oh, good stuff.
But yeah, it's true. It's our 20th episode. What a good time, right?
Very good.
We've learned a lot.
We've cried.
Yeah. If every
No
every
laughter.
movie is 2 hours, let's say, we've done 40 hours of bad movies. That is American Work Week worth of trash film. And there's no better person to celebrate the milestone with than today's guest.
Yes.
He is a good friend of the show. Please, you're already clapping, I know, but keep it going for Marco Rummo. Hey, Marco.
Hey.
Thank you for coming and doing the show.
Thank you.
It is very appreciated. Marco,
Of course.
how do you feel about romantic comedies?
I love romantic comedies. I actually tend to be more like a middle-aged woman with my romantic comedy tastes.
Yes.
I kind of grew up with my aunt and my mother influencing my romantic comedy taste. So I've watched a lot of the Meg Ryan ones, especially, and Julia Roberts, like those two for sure. Their oeuvre is really what I've gotten.
So like the good ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you wouldn't otherwise you wouldn't otherwise watch all the movies that we watched.
Not on purpose.
Not
I
on
guess.
purpose. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For sure, because like my sisters were watching them when I was growing up.
Right,
Like,
right.
Sure.
That's how I saw Cinderella Story. That's how I saw. Well, actually, Pretty Woman I think is good.
Oh, it's
It
so
is.
good.
It was
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's
A
the same
very good
director
movie.
as this week's film.
Is it
Gary
really?
Marshall.
Yeah, it's
Welcome back
Gary
to the Marshall
Marshall.
cast.
Oh, yeah.
Who recently died, I believe.
Yeah.
What?
A few years ago. Yeah.
Oh, a few years ago. Okay.
Yeah, that's not.
I was like,
anymore.
yesterday? No.
Yeah. He died this morning. And his daughter is Penny Marshall from Laverne and Shirley.
Who just died today.
Oh my
That would be-
god.
Wow.
That's
would
not
be
a
quite
joke.
the
She
time.
died
No,
today.
yeah.
Did
Wait,
she?
really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
wait. Are you serious?
And
Yeah.
she's in
It's
this
in
movie.
the past in this podcast, but she died today, yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my god! I
that's
can't believe that.
awful.
That's awful. She's
Yeah.
in this movie.
She is.
Briefly.
Who
was-
is she? We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
but
we'll get there.
She's not anybody significant.
neither is Alyssa
Sorry.
Milano. Spoiler alert.
Hey, Marco, get the fuck out. No, don't get the fuck out. Stay here. Marco, we were talking before the show, and we were talking about how you are Italian. We weren't having like a full but we were just, Haley and I were like, he's Italian.
They bring it up so much. Zach's in conversation. He's always like, Marco's so Italian.
I know it's my one characteristic.
Yeah. But you
Primary
mentioned what I
characteristic.
believe was the names of all of your mom's siblings. Was that correct? Would you do
Yeah.
us the honor of naming them
Oh,
again?
absolutely. I'll
'Cause
do
you
it
also
in
did it
age
with-
order even.
You did it with such speed, which I
Yeah,
loved.
almost
So-
as if I've known them my whole life.
Almost.
No, it's Amelia, Aurora, Dora, Vinny, Frankie, Tony, Lisa, Annie. Yeah.
If you look at a poster of an alphabet in an Italian grade school, it's 25 letters.
24, I
That
believe.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, there's no X and no K.
Oh, no X.
And no
Right.
J. So 20.
Where are you
Okay.
coming in with these Italian facts?
So
Zach?
23, I
Actually,
guess,
just
yeah.
want to let you guys know I was full on joking.
Oh, no. No. There are
wow, damn,
there
yeah.
are some letters missing for sure,
There
yeah.
are
Yeah.
3 for sure.
That is insane to me because, again, I was doing a bit, but I just learned something. So cool.
Well, my sister is Jessica with the G because there's no J.
Whoa.
Geossica.
Just Gessica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jessica.
Well, speaking of spicy meatballs, we watched a spicy one today.
Ooh, baby. We watched the 2011 film New Year's Eve, which is fitting because we've said this is New Year's Eve.
This
so
is it
And
today.
it coincides with Penny Marshall's untimely death.
That is
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
timely. I think she was 92.
And
but,
also Zac Efron's untimely death. He died on December 30th, 2018.
oh boy, rest in peace, Zachary.
What a loss.
Again, we're in the future, so we know that.
We know.
Ooh.
It really threw everyone for a loop when he fell in front of that train.
Imagine if he did in fact die, and we were just like, nobody laughed because it was true.
Yeah.
If it turns out that that's true, we will not air this episode. Marco, you'll have to come back.
I think they're not laughing anyway, but that's
Right.
for a different
Well,
reason.
because they're so enraptured. Yeah.
It's a bad podcast. But anyway, why don't we get into it now? The way this film is done, it's kind of like Love Actually, kind of like Valentine's Day. There's a lot of different plot lines that some do interweave, some don't. They all take place in the Big Apple, New York City. And we thought it'd be easier than, rather than going chronologically, we thought it'd be easier to go storyline by storyline, sort of break it down and go into it until the points, of course, where they sort of all come together.
Yes. Now, before we get into that, do you mind if I just rattle off some famous cast members? Because always it's like a powerhouse cast.
Yeah,
It's going to
please do.
take a while.
It's
but
of a
please,
trilogy.
Yeah.
I'll be fast. I'll go in the order that it's listed on Wikipedia, which begs some questions. So, Halle Berry, Jessica Biel, John Bon Jovi, Abigail Breslin, Ludacris, Robert De Niro, Josh Duhamel, Zac Efron, Hector Elizondo, Katherine Heigl, Ashton Kutcher, Seth Meyers, Leah Michelle, Sarah Jessica Parker, Michelle Pfeiffer, Till Schweiger. Who's that?
Till Schweiger.
Jake T. Austin, Hilary Swank, and Sofia
Lisa,
Vergara.
Antonio, Frank,
Vinny.
the gang's all here. Dora.
Now, the funny thing is that Sofia Vergara is on the bottom of this list.
It's alphabetical.
Oh.
That's why Halle Berry's first.
Oh my God, I'm so stupid.
They did that in
You're
the
so
credits of the
stupid.
movie too. I feel like that's probably because to not combat anyone's egos.
It feels fair,
That's
yeah.
fair.
I guess so.
But yeah, they're like, boo, Sofia Vergara, you're at the
Boo!
bottom.
Yuck.
Yeah.
She'll never have a career after this, they said.
Yeah, even if it wasn't alphabetical, they'd put her at the bottom. So why don't we just go into it and go into the first plot line?
Woohoo.
Great.
Which
All right.
is the $1 million baby herself, Hilary
Hilary
Swank,
Swank.
She's the
Karate
baby.
Kid
The
herself.
karate.
who she's not Jennifer Gardner.
No.
And
Garner.
Garner.
What did you say, Gardner?
Like
yes,
the
they always yell at me for this.
You guys listening need to know that we have a film that we did, which is logged. It hasn't been out yet. Jennifer Garner plays a big role, and Haley refers to her as Jennifer Gardner the entire time.
So we have the $1 million baby, Hilary Swank, and she is she's like running the ball drop for Times
She's
Square.
the vice president of the Times Square Alliance.
at,
right.
at some point, I think her first introduction, somebody walks by her and they whisper, "This is Claire Morgan. She's in charge."
That
So
happens in a
right off
lot
the
of
bat-
scenes where people open the scene with an
With like,
expository line.
here's what this person is. Yeah.
Here's their ranking in terms of their power in this situation.
I like that it's just a throwaway line though, so we catch it and go, I knew that.
Yeah.
I feel smart now.
May I make a general point about the movie?
Yes.
I did not retain any characters' names. I always referred to them by the actor
Yeah.
the entire time.
Same.
That is fair.
I
That
think
is-
that's probably pretty common for most people. Not to mention that most of their names are like the most generic, bland,
Yeah.
name, like
Claire
Claire Morgan.
Morgan.
It's just
Right.
like a non-name.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's nothing. It's powder. So she's busy. She's, in case you guessed it, she's stressed, single, celibate. And maybe not that last one.
Cenobite.
But yeah, she is stressed. She's a busy woman. She's no fun. She makes a bunch of like little slip ups and whatnot. And her best friend is Ludacris.
Yeah. Which
Luda?
He's a cop. Is he the chief of police, or is he just
He
like a
spends most of
better
his day
cop?
doing nothing.
Great.
Just talking to
Great.
Hilary Swank.
So
I
he's
thought-
a normal cop.
I thought he was just like security the whole time, and then they made a line like calling him like New York police, and I was like, why is he just sitting then? Like,
Right.
his job seems more important. Also, why is he best friends with
They're so tight
$1 million
with each
baby?
other.
Yes.
I know.
At
Like,
no
they go
point
back.
were they like, remember when we met 3 years ago at that Jenga tournament
You just
or
take
anything?
it in.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Okay.
At one point, she has to go up to like really, really high up where the ball is going to be. And she's walking up the stairs and she's very nervous. And she's like, I'm afraid of heights. And
Yes.
someone said, you're afraid of heights and you run the ball drop? And Ludacris says, I think that's what makes her best for the job.
No explanation
Which
other
is
than that.
I was
not
like,
true.
Yeah, quite the opposite.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah, she I like how like when the ball stops working, which is why she goes up there. I like that it's like a pretty chill thing. Like people are upset, but it's not like the entire thing shuts down. Like there's like 4 workers.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, it's not working.
Yeah, they don't seem like... You're right. They don't seem like concerned. They're like, oh, man, it's New Year's Eve, and the ball, the most important part of it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like this multi-million-dollar operation, which I'm sure
Right.
New Year's Eve in Times Square is.
Now, Ryan Seacrest seems over upset.
Oh, he is
in that
upset.
part of it. Yeah.
Can we talk about the snub at the Oscars that year for Ryan Seacrest for this movie?
He does not deserve anything. I hate that guy. He's
Why do you hate Ryan Seacrest?
Well, I have bad news. Ryan. Hello, Edward. This is...
I tried to high five a blind guy.
I thought you were going to say he died because everyone's
dying.
dying. Oh, everyone in Gary Marshall's New Year's Eve is dying
In the Gary
today.
Marshall universe.
We call it
the
the
Marshall-verse.
Gary Marshall curse.
Oh, man. Hilary Swank. I forgot what I was going to say.
I'll say
I'm sorry.
something.
Yes.
So she's organizing the whole night. Things are going well. She gives the speech to the workers after Ludacris's bodyguard, I guess, or something, lifts her up the stairs. She tells a wonderful speech. And then the ball breaks. The lights go. And all of the electricians are like, oh my God, we need him. We need him.
Kaminsky.
We need Kaminsky. And she was like, not Kaminsky. And they're like, we need him. And we find out that Kaminsky's just Hector Elizondo with an accent playing like the electrical whiz, they call him.
Yeah.
Like the best electrician. And
That's
it's
the
just
Pretty
a
Woman
guy.
connection.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hector
Exactly.
Elizondo.
We love Hector Elizondo
Oh,
here.
so much.
We do.
Yeah.
He's always a delight. But this role did not give him
No.
the shining star he deserved.
He did was it like a Russian accent for no reason?
Yeah.
I think, like
He is a light-skinned Latino, so he can, chameleon
he could do
become anything.
any
yeah.
race. Yeah. So he was fired, and that's
He was
all.
fire.
He was fired. He was
Kaminsky
on
fucking
fire.
rocks.
Oh boy, at a drum solo. No, he was fired for no reason? Question mark.
Yeah.
They gave
And
no. They're like,
he's
you
upset.
sacked me, and
I
we were
think he
just
was
like,
fired because
darn.
Hilary Swank's too high-powered at this point. She
I
hasn't been
guess.
brought down to her humanity yet.
Hey,
I sensed a power struggle.
I don't know. She was like, it wasn't me, right?
Oh.
I don't
Right?
know.
But they really didn't. I wish they had just said something.
yeah.
You know, like
Anything.
That's the thing with these movies. There's just so many plot lines. There's just so many stories that nothing really gets the actual explanation they deserve.
Right.
nothing gets the
Right.
full attention that it needs
No.
in terms of writing.
The point of these movies, this and Valentine's Day, is to get to the end and have it all tie up.
Oh, yeah.
And to be like, this is how they all interacted. Look how smart we were to put them all together like this. So none of these stories matter until the last half hour.
Have any of you seen Valentine's or Mother's Day?
So
Well,
funny story
I
about
have not seen Mother's Day.
There's a
I'm sorry,
Mother's Day one.
Yeah, it's Valentine's, then
should we
New
do
Year's,
Mother's Day
then
at some
Mother's
point?
Day.
Those are Mother's Day in May.
I
Yeah.
think I should always come back for the Gary Marshall holiday.
So
Trilogy.
here's a thing about Valentine's Day. It was actually the very first episode we recorded, and it was our very first time trying an episode. And I went back to edit, and I went, well, this is a mess, because we did it in chronological order, and it was so hard to carry
Yep.
out, and it was our first time trying it, so we ended up not using that
Earlier
as the first
on,
episode.
when I mentioned a recording where Haley talks about Jennifer Garner a lot, it was for Valentine's
was
Day.
it?
Yeah.
And we've just kind of kept it being like, maybe we can salvage this one day. But it was our very first one, and it
Maybe for Valentine's Day.
We're
that's
thinking.
the plan, to find
Yeah.
some way to edit it down, because it is funny, and I don't want to redo it because I don't
Right.
want to watch that movie again. So
Don't
maybe
need to.
maybe it'll be our Valentine's Day release with a little disclaimer being like, yeah, this one's bad.
So once Hector Elizondo, the fucking electrical whiz of New York, what the fuck, is doing his thing, Hilary Swank goes out and gives a big speech on the screen at Times Square to
Right.
talk
about how great New Year's Eve is and how it's about second chances. And
I clocked the speech. It was ready 43 minutes and 3 seconds. It wasn't, but it goddamn felt like
Yeah.
it sucked.
It also had everyone in Times Square paying attention,
Which has
I was
never
just
happened
about
before.
to say I was going to call bullshit on. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to call bullshit on Times Square ever being that quiet. at all
Never.
ever in the
Never
history
once.
Especially
of
12,000
New York
people or whatever. Like, that's
Right.
probably lowballing
City. I
it.
was like, pay attention, pay attention.
Or like, everybody be silent.
She's vice president.
And listen to
Yeah.
this.
She's in charge.
person.
It's Claire Morgan. She's in charge.
Yeah, we
Morgan,
can't
Claire
see her. Just listen to this disembodied voice talk shit about New Year's for 40 minutes. It was the worst.
I think out of all the stories, the Times Square one was the most product placement-y.
Yeah.
Obvious. I mean, Times Square is not walking because it's not a live thing, but it's like it is all product placement. But every single scene, it was like Nivea hats, McDonald's. It was like every
There's a
single
really
thing.
long shot of Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just Robert Downey Jr.'s face. It was great. It was perfect. That was a perfect
My
product
favorite
placement.
one was what was it called? Wonderland, the totally failed Alice in Wonderland musical that was on Broadway was in the
I don't even
background.
remember.
It was 2012, guys.
And Billy Elliot. Billy Elliot
was there,
which
yeah,
did well.
Failed
Right,
musical.
yes, of course.
William
William Elliot, the failed musical.
Real quick, last thing I want to point out before we'll bring this. We'll talk about it at the end.
We'll end
Yeah.
this storyline
But-
and move on.
Well,
The
because
last
it
thing-
connects to another one.
Exactly.
Yes.
The last thing I want to talk about is she gets a stern talking to from the president of the Times Square
Yes.
Alliance, who is Matthew Broderick in a limo.
Did you guys clock what his name was? Did you see what the character's
Oh
name
no,
What
was?
was
I
it?
didn't.
Was it Matthew Broderick?
Mr. Buellerton.
Oh,
Boo.
boo.
Wait, what?
I have some Drano in the other room if you guys want to do a quick fucking chug round.
Shots.
Thank you, Amazon Prime, again for that.
Oh,
for
boo.
I just remember thinking because it was yesterday. Why would he be in a limo? It's not like a limo
He's
job.
the president.
Also, where did
He's the
he...
of a small thing.
Right, yeah. Did he drive through Times Square, the hardest place to access on New Year's
yeah,
Eve?
that's the least real. Not that he was in a limo, but that he went through Times Square.
All
in a
of it is
vehicle.
dumb.
Also, Zach made a point while we were watching. If he's the president of the Times Square Alliance, why isn't he making sure things are going well
Yeah, why
instead of
isn't
just
he the
sitting
one
in a
doing it?
limo?
Right.
Because
Well,
this
that's
is
why, 'cause he was
the
in traffic the
biggest
whole time.
event of time. This is the biggest event of Times Square, and you're just like, yeah, let my minion do it.
Yeah, he's
Right,
like, I walk around, I drive around my limo. This doesn't reflect on me if it goes
Right, yeah.
poorly.
I think he even says like this reflects on you if it all fucks up. They talk about the baseball player who dropped the ball.
Right, yeah.
She said you'll be like the baseball player who lost the World
But
Series.
You're
The
the
one
president.
thing-
I'm like, no.
Wooden marionette Matthew Broderick.
The one thing people know Times Square for is New Year's. What does he do the rest of the year?
Yeah.
He puts those big light up steps
Yeah.
out there.
You know those guys that are like, it's showtime, and they do like the flip over each other? He makes sure they're on time.
I was gonna say he's just constantly battling the fuzzy dress up characters.
We can agree he got the job because his wife is in the movie.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
yes. Which let's go to our next storyline,
Yeah.
which is what?
Marco, what do you have?
The Resolution Tour,
Oh,
Oh,
good God!
boo.
This
Ooh.
Amazon Prime calls it.
fucking plot line. I love that Amazon Prime named the storyline.
It sure
Which is
did,
a better
yeah.
title than what it deserves.
Oh,
Yeah.
quick, guys. I think we have actually an ad read for Amazon Prime. Should we just do it real quick?
I think so,
absolutely,
yeah.
We're just going to go to our sponsor, Amazon Prime, real quick, and we'll be right back with more of the Meet Cute.
Dun, 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 dun.
Do you need a package delivered to your house?
Amazon.
Do you need to have some movie streaming?
Amazon?
Do you need to listen to audiobook?
Amazon.
Uh-huh. And we're back.
Oh, I love that.
Wow.
That's
That
so
was-
good. Yeah.
I think that they're going to really
They
get
only
their
wanted
money's
to
worth.
play for a. They only wanted to pay for a 10-second
yeah.
advertisement. So
Like too long.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. So this fucking plot line with Zac Efron
And Michelle Pfeiffer.
and Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer's that white gold. So
Oh,
sure is.
Poor Michelle
okay.
Pfeiffer.
So you
Catwoman.
see Zac Efron being a strangely ghetto character for him, walking into a big building called Ahern
Ahern.
Records.
Well,
Yeah.
first, Michelle Pfeiffer almost gets hit by a car.
yes, that's right.
She falls into garbage.
It takes 2 seconds, and apparently that's her whole character for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, Michelle
Yes.
Pfeiffer's character in this movie acts like she's never been outside before.
Right.
Yes.
She is Jacob Tremblay in Room when they first get out of the titular room. She's
That's
a
it.
mess.
She was roomed until
Yeah.
that day.
when
and
she has a
then-
big job at this record label.
Yeah, John Lithgow roomed her until New Year's.
Zac Efron catcalls every woman he sees, and they're all into it. And
Oh, yeah.
yes.
I
I
wish
wish
it more
just-
as bro-y than ghetto.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like dumb.
Yeah.
He's like a dumbass.
it's like, and I say like ghetto in the way that like Channing Tatum's early roles were all tainted with.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. He's like, hey, man, but he's still like white. And you're like, oh.
He's like, yo, bro, this party's going to be lit.
Yeah. Where Channing Tatum's, all his early characters were just like, like poor white guy who grew up in like Baltimore. I don't know, a very specific type.
Not to spoil anything, but how poor could he be if Sarah Jessica Parker's his sister?
Yeah, right.
What a weird thing. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
later.
we'll talk about it.
So Zac Efron is like a delivery boy, basically. So he walks into Ahern Records where he's got stuff to deliver, and Michelle Pfeiffer is at her desk looking like mousy and really just like. And he delivers her a package, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I deliver everything to you for the last however many years or days, and you don't fucking know me." And she's like, "I'm a mouse."
I almost got hit by a car, maybe.
Yes. And she opens her package, and it's these tickets to this crazy celebrity masquerade party on New Year's Eve. And Zac Efron's like, "Yo, that's the ticket, man. I want those party tickets. You are a lucky lady." And she's like, "I'm gonna rip them and throw them in the garbage." But she doesn't rip them because we need those later.
They're a plot device for sure.
Yeah.
They're a plot device, absolutely. And we see
Also, at one point, she tries to burn them, and she's like, "They won't burn."
They lit on fire, but they didn't burn.
Everyone who opens them sees just their inner darkest secrets scribbled in a familiar handwriting.
I know how I'll die. Is this for a party?
No, that's why Zac Efron died on December 30th. He looked at it, and
he looked at the.
Oh
and
God!
he immediately his skin just melted off, and the last thing he said was, "Don't go to the party."
I felt sexual tension between Michelle Pfeiffer and Zac Efron from jump. I don't know about you guys.
Really?
I was like,
I didn't.
Okay. I felt like,
Luckily, because yuck.
I did, but it was Michelle Pfeiffer's fault. I didn't feel. No. I
always
didn't
the woman's
feel it
fault.
from Zac Efron, because Zac Efron's just like, "Hey man, let's go light a joint and go skateboard in Times Square on the TKTS booth." And Michelle Pfeiffer's
Hell
just
yeah.
like, "Oh, my eyes are so open, and I'm just gonna wrap my arms
She sounds like
around
Julia
you."
Child.
She's Julia Child.
What is that sensation? Wind.
Ooh, am I married now?
I feel like maybe not sexual tension, but they're both like curious about each other.
Right.
Like they're both like are beings that they've never experienced
Yeah.
before.
Which is crazy. What, you've never experienced a young man in his 20s who likes to party? And what, you've
Right.
never experienced
You
like
weren't in
your
your
aunt?
20s?
Like it's just an old woman. But Zac Efron sees on her desk she has New Year's resolutions written on a paper, and he's like working on those resolutions. She's like, I'm a mouse. I don't know. And then
I was in Mother.
so we cut to John Lithgow, who is like just like an angry ranting boss.
A cartoon.
Once again,
Yes.
underused in another film. That
Yes.
we,
Yeah. Justice for Lithgow.
Justice for John Lithgow. Which I keep hearing in my head the way Noah said John Lithgow with her like beautiful Israeli accent.
What was it?
John Lithgow.
What?
Oh, I thought
Lithgow.
Noah was here again.
Anyway, he's just like being generally mean, and she's like, "Can I have 2 weeks vacation?" And he's like, 2 weeks? You can have 1. And she's like, "I've been working here for so long, I just want my 2 weeks vacation." And he's like, "No, I literally murder your family." And she's like, "Well, then I quit." And then we find out that quitting her job was the first thing off her New Year's resolution list.
Which is funny that she would even like bargain for those 2 weeks if on her resolution list was to quit.
Right.
Yeah. Also, HR already signed off on it, so
yeah, he has
she
no jurisdiction.
didn't have to bring that up if she didn't want to.
You're right. HR never gets brought up in these films enough.
You know what?
A lot of these films' problems could be solved by like a really concrete HR hierarchy.
Plotline.
Cinderella story, Pretty Woman.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
diner had HR.
Exactly.
Yeah, the prostitutes.
Justice for John Lithgow. Justice for human resources. Let's do this.
I was just say human rights. I was like, too real.
Justice for human rights. Yeah, we're in
You know
favor.
what? Yeah. We'll say it here
So
first.
for some reason, Michelle Pfeiffer believes that she should run out of the building and approach Zac Efron, right? Is that how it goes?
Did she call him? or
She
did
quits
No.
and she packs up her
Yes.
box and she walks out and
He's still there.
she books him for the day, she
Yeah.
says.
Yes,
he
that's
he
it.
gets like an assignment to go
Seems-
there, and she's like, I booked you for the day. We're going to do everything on my list, and at the end of the day, these are yours with the party tickets.
Which, I'm sorry, wait. You can book a mail
Messenger.
courier for a day?
Yeah, that doesn't seem
Like,
right.
he's got other stuff to deliver.
Like, I'll accept it for the sake of the movie,
Sure.
but that's not a real
Yeah,
thing.
no.
He had every right to call his boss and be like, hey, this is inappropriate. This is not related to the job, and they would just cancel.
By the way, a connection between the two of them, they were both in Hairspray.
That's what you were. It wasn't
Oh.
sexual. It was a hairspray connection.
Whenever I picture
Kat
Michelle
Von D.
Pfeiffer, I picture this version of her, which is crazy.
The
Just
New Year's Eve
mousy,
version?
Yes.
Like,
I picture Catwoman.
Yeah, I picture Catwoman.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she's a very like diverse actress with like a lot of like good roles, and for some reason I picture this Michelle Pfeiffer.
You should start picturing her in Mother, where she's in a green bra and she's
Yeah.
having sex with Ed Harris.
There you
And-
go.
Perfect. Problem solved.
Completed.
So she
That
tells
was your resolution.
Yes. So she tells Zac Efron, she says, I need to complete all my resolutions by midnight, and then you can have these party tickets. And what if they're resolutions? You don't start working on them until
It's
January 1st.
Oh, interesting.
Also, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Haley pointed this out. I hope you don't mind that I say it.
Of course not. It was going to come up.
These aren't resolutions.
No, not at all.
This
That's
is a
bucket list.
Yes, that's a great point.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
It's like go to Bali, and what are some of the other things?
Be amazed.
Travel around the world.
Yes, walk all 5 boroughs.
Also, go to Bali and travel around the world is super redundant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
true.
Nice job, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost
Got
like
way
you're not
cool.
an adult. Like you know
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah, she's like, be a superhero. It's like,
Kill a bad guy.
Oh, well, yeah, one of them was save a life.
oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Why would you
yeah.
want someone to be in the position that they need their
Oh,
life
right.
saved?
She
That's
did want to be a
fucked.
superhero. That's right. She fails that one because they die.
Try again.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
A resolution is like
Lose
be
weight.
kinder,
Exercise more, yeah.
Be kinder to my friends. Don't forget to clean your room.
Stop
stupid.
cheating on my spouse.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe next year. Am I
Thinking
right?
about it now, save a life. That one's really that's really bad
Especially
to want to have to do that.
in an allotted amount of time where you have to be like, I don't want to save a life anytime. Just in this year, I
Yeah.
want to save a
No,
life.
Haley, you're right. Like, if it's a resolution, it's for the new year. Unless it was her resolution from the last
I think it was
year.
for
Yeah.
the last year, and she was just
gotta
like,
top it
I
for
never
2012
did
then.
it.
Yeah, I never did
Yeah.
all of these things that are impossible to do in a year. Like
I
what?
was almost hit by a car, and I'm made of
Oh,
paper.
right.
She's
Well-
also made of plain oatmeal.
Exactly.
So I don't know what you guys want.
Either way, let's quickly walk through some of the things they do together.
Zac Efron gets creative in trying to fulfill her
Which good for him
resolutions.
for
Yeah,
thinking
it was charming.
on his feet. Yeah.
He had nothing to do the whole day except that.
Yeah,
I
he was
mean,
making
literally,
money.
he was hired to. Yeah.
So save a life, they adopt a puppy. Hell yeah.
So cute.
Take a trip around the world. She gets on his motorcycle and goes around like a big globe
Yeah.
statue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're New
For
Yorkers, but I don't
Bali,
think
they
anyone
go
knows
to
what that
this
Spa.
the
Spa
spa
in
in the middle of
Brooklyn.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't interact with any Balinese people. She just goes and gets a spa done in Brooklyn, and she's like, "This neighborhood's dangerous." I'm
Yeah.
like,
She's like, I don't want to be
I'm
here.
like, girl, that's got to be the most expensive neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Yes, calm down. Then to walk all 5 boroughs, he takes her to this museum of Queens, which doesn't exist, right?
I don't know.
A miniature museum
Miniature-
of the borough.
Does
Yeah,
it
of all
actually
the boroughs.
exist? Because if so, I'd like
Can-
to see it.
Can you get research on that?
Well,
Yes,
I
let's
don't
check.
think. I mean, it seemed like she was not breaking and entering, but she shouldn't have been walking on the miniatures.
Yeah, right. Like that's
Yeah.
if you think of like a museum, how many guests there are every day. Like
Oh,
if they
yeah,
all are
yeah, yeah.
walking on
Yeah.
the miniatures, that's bad.
That's
a good
bad for
point.
the
But
miniatures.
But it's
yeah.
at this point that she overhears a phone conversation between him and his roommate, who is in another plot line, which we'll get to, where he says that she's a little pathetic in like
Yeah.
a cute way.
A little kooky.
Which like how sad would it be if at that point he was just like, you know what? She actually is pathetic, and then just left.
She's so stupid.
Yeah.
and
Well,
I
he was
hate her.
so like speaking at total normal volume.
Yes!
He was.
Yeah.
And
In
in
an
a big,
empty,
empty,
cavernous-
echoey space. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, you idiot. It is a real place. It's the panorama of the city of New York in the Queens Museum, which I didn't know
We
there was
should
a
have done
Queens
this live
Museum.
from there.
Okay. Just
Yes.
echo everywhere.
Wow, I would like to go.
I don't even remember how he apologized, or if he does. I think he's just like,
quite.
come on, quit being a dumbass. Let's get on the bike.
And he just slaps her on the butt. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, I never. Okay.
And so they carry on after they forgive each other real quick, I guess.
The movie has to keep going.
Yes, we got to keep moving here. We find out that Zac Efron is Sarah Jessica Parker's brother, which we'll get to her plot line.
Gosh, I don't know how. They never... This is, again, one of those things that they could have explained easily, but they had no time for.
Yep.
Like, your father got remarried and so had me younger. Or, oh, we were twins, but I was born 30 years after you were.
I looked it up. She was born in 1965, and he was born in 1987. So nearly 23 years difference, because he was like October of 87.
Right,
she's
yeah.
like March of 65.
Any sentence I would have accepted, and there was none.
As me, your
pull
much
up their
older
Wikipedia.
sister.
Right, yeah.
Sacre bleu.
My aunt.
Yeah, why couldn't it be his like aunt?
So the last thing they do is be amazed. What they do is he
Very
like
specific.
Yeah, he gets a hookup from Radio City Music Hall, and he just has her like fly back and
Swing.
forth on a harness, like
Yeah, with like
Is amazing, by the way. Yeah, what a hookup to have.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
cool hookup. He
them-
gets that from his sister, who will go into her story later.
And he says, "Are you not amazed?" And she says, "I'm amazed you got me to do this." And I went, "Huh." And yeah,
Sarah Jessica Parker being his sister makes sense why he's into older ladies then, because like,
oh yeah, because
you know,
he
his
was
sister-
raised. His
yeah, because
mom
everybody
must
wants to
been
have
so old.
everyone's into their sisters, Marco.
It's
Cool.
Freudian. It's fine.
Which I feel like we can actually like wrap up their storyline because he doesn't really cross in any other way.
No.
So let's
Right.
just wrap him up.
Unless
Zach,
you said his roommate is one of the characters.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but they don't quite.
yeah.
he finishes all the things for her. He gets ready to go to the party. They go separate ways, and then right at midnight, she's alone in front of the ball at Times Square watching the thing drop, and he comes out of nowhere and kisses her.
Well, before they part ways, he's like, "Oh, I did everything except the last thing on the list," and she's like, "Oh, you'll never be able to get that."
Oh, right, a
taken care
kiss
of.
at midnight. Is that what the last thing
Well,
is?
we don't
They don't
know
explicitly
until
say
yeah.
it.
Oh,
Get felt up.
I
by
hope
a
the
25-year-old.
I hope the last thing was get a kiss by Zac Efron at midnight.
It was that specifically, yeah. And he crossed it off because he was the character. He wasn't Zac Efron.
Right,
He was like,
right.
maybe next
People
year
say I
Zac
look like
Efron
Zac
will.
Unless he dies horribly.
December 30th.
So he kisses her, and she's like, "I'm twice your age," and he's like, "I don't give a fuck."
So is my sister.
We kiss all the time. She's got a daughter. It might be mine, but we don't talk about it. It's a family secret. We wrote it in those fucking tickets to the party. That's why it's darkness.
That's
And
why she
then
acts
then
like that.
together they go to that fancy party. And she dances badly. And that's it. That's a wrap on Michelle
That's a
Pfeiffer and
wrap
Zac
on
Efron.
Michelle.
Series
Zach.
rap. My favorite thing that Zach says on this podcast is series rap because
Series
that's
rap.
only
Thank
for
you.
television, not for
Yeah.
film. But I love
That's a
when you
series
use it.
wrap on Zac Efron and Michelle
I was just
Pfeiffer.
about to say it. Yeah, hell yeah. That sounds like a good time to take a break. Maybe you can go get a cup of tea, put your feet up, and let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Floor! We'll be right back.
Who's next?
The hospital story.
Boo!
Aw.
Boo!
Wait, the hospital story?
You
That's,
didn't like the hospital story?
Sorry, which hospital story? Seth Meyers?
So the,
Oh, yeah, which one?
Amazon refers to the hospital story as the Halle Berry Robert De Niro.
Oh, boo!
You didn't like that?
Let's just bang through this bullshit.
The Seth
Yeah.
Meyers one's called the maternity ward story.
That's
Yes.
fine.
Okay, you guys want me to sum up this plot line for
I
you?
would love
Robert
to.
De Niro wants to go on the roof.
The end.
That's it. That's it.
And then Halle Berry is
Talks-
married to an unrelated person.
Common.
No, I understand, but nobody in a story where everyone's connected, nobody else is like, my brother Common is at war.
They turned the camera slightly left, and Seth Meyers is killed in,
Hey, my
in
brother.
Iraq.
Yeah.
To elaborate real briefly. 'Cause
Yeah,
this one's
so briefly.
stupid.
We can do this in one line.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Robert De Niro is a dying man. His last wish to go on the roof so he can look at the New Year's Eve fireworks.
Dr. Carrie Elwes says no.
Yes.
Nurse Alyssa Milano says no.
Halle Berry's like, I don't know, I don't care.
And,
I'll sit with you throughout the night.
Yeah.
I think what they wanted most from this was the revelation that Hilary Swank's his daughter.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the only thing that happens is that Hilary Swank leaves her job early, runs to the dying father, and sneaks him to the
'Cause
roof.
they watched the ball together.
You know, that's a
All
really
the
good
time?
point about her story, that this entire day she doesn't even once bring up that like her father's about to die. She's like
Right,
too busy
yeah.
with work.
Well, Carrie Ells says, excuse me, is there no one you want to call since you're dying?
That's right.
And he says, no, there's no one, which is crazy. Call your daughter.
So it's like implied he's
Call
he's
your
kept it from her.
daughter.
Yes.
Well, I think it wants to save the surprise because Josh Duhamel is like, ugh, I have to meet this girl at midnight, and we think it's Hilary Swank because she's like, ooh, I have to go meet a guy. And
Right.
so we're like, oh, is it him? Is it her? But then she meets her dad.
So then there's only one other woman.
Right. Right.
All I'll say is that Carrie Ells plays a doctor in this movie. He plays a doctor in Saw. This is a Saw spinoff confirmed.
Yep. This
next
is a
plot
prequel to Saw. Or
Yeah.
a sequel. Who's to say?
This
Yeah.
plot was so stupid. Halle Berry was so sweet to Robert De Niro, who didn't need to be in this movie. And
Yeah, how did anyone agree to be in this movie? B, how did Robert De Niro specifically agree to act in this
trying
movie?
to get some money, support the kids.
Do you guys know that Halle Berry was originally supposed to play the Sarah Jessica Parker part, and that they recast her as the nurse?
Oh,
Do you
God.
know the reason? Or is
I don't.
Allie?
Wait.
Oh, she's not here.
So
Haley.
The only hey. The only other thing that Halle Berry does is video chat her soldier husband, and she wears a New Year's dress. She's like, "I love you and I'll miss you." And what did Common get for that?
He was nominated for a BET award for Best Actor.
Really?
is that what
Yeah.
What?
he and what?
It was
a
1 minute of
pre-recorded
screen
shot.
I
time.
think that went on one beat too long. Like
It did.
They did it once. They left at other scenes, came back to it, and I was like, I got
Yeah.
everything. She's like, I miss you. Like a second time, she said, I
Yes.
miss you.
And
I
then
didn't
he
need
was
it.
like, "Ooh, they're calling me. I gotta go." And he doesn't hit anything, and then the screen statics out, which implies that the place was bombed.
You think so?
No.
Jesus.
It's just, I don't know. Is there a time? Did he put a quarter in there? Was there
Yeah.
like
Would it
30
be funny
seconds
though if
left?
he was like, "Yeah, they're calling me. I got to go back to war."
Yeah. Anyway,
Jesus.
war.
Which, for a movie that's supposed to be all like romance, why didn't he show up?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert
Like
De
the
Niro
backdrop
sets it up.
falls down, and he's like in the hospital.
Yes.
He's like, "Whoops."
Done.
It could have been Robert De Niro's last thing he did alive.
Robert
He,
De Niro
paid for
pulls
the
his
flight.
mask off,
He's
and it's
Common.
common.
Either way, this plot should not have been in the movie because
Yeah.
the movie could have been way shorter and way less convoluted if they just didn't have this dumb plot line.
Dumb plot line. Let's move on to the
Just
next
sad. Let's move on.
Maternity ward story.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Now, Zach and I actually saw this movie together a long time ago because Zach was working at a movie theater and we saw this for free. And we had agreed back then that this was the only plot line we would have liked to have seen.
In
Like, we
fact-
would have seen a movie on just
yeah, I
these two.
could have done a feature on this if you obviously extended it to a point. I loved it. It's charming.
Because you guys are big Seth Meyers stands.
Yeah,
he's
I'd say.
he's charming.
And it was funny. Like even if he wasn't in it, it was a great. This was a good short.
That one's not bad.
Is this a real thing where
I don't know.
hospitals
People
are
definitely
like,
give birth.
oh,
That's real.
when? Is it just the first?
Just once a year.
Okay.
Hey Marco,
okay.
I said it before, but this time I mean it. Get the fuck out.
Put your shoes back on.
Marco, why don't you give us a little rundown of what's happening, just so we understand?
Yeah, so Sarah Paulson and Till Schweiger are a couple who come into the maternity ward, and they mention that there's like a cash prize for the first baby born on New Year's Day on January 1st, and they are aiming to get it, and Till Schweiger is really cagey about it, and Seth Meyers and Jessica Biel are a couple that's about to give birth as well, and they overhear it and decide it'd be the best idea to pay off their student loan.
Yeah.
He uses the singular. It was weird.
Yes.
If they
It's only about him. He does not care about her student loans. She didn't go to school. She's a woman. Go on.
right, absolutely. She is only pregnant. Yeah, so it becomes like a little bit of a competition. And although it's really more the husbands who are competing, and like part of the shenanigans of it is that like Seth Meyers is like way more into it than actually being attentive to his wife, and yeah, that's the.
And then they don't connect with anyone.
No, they're their own
No,
thing.
it's the
Their
same
own
hospital
thing.
as De Niro, but that's the only thing.
Little fun fact. This is more a real world connection. Sarah Paulson, who's the other mother to be, she dated. Do you remember the woman who had the dog, the older woman at the end, Mrs. Ahern, Josh Duhamel's mom?
Oh, Diane Wiest?
No, that was Cherry Jones.
Oh, Cherry Jones. Yeah, she dated.
You
Cherry
called
Jones.
her
Sarah
Diane
Paulson.
Wiest that whole movie.
She looked like Diane Wiest to me. Sure, was it
No,
Diane
it's
Wiest?
Cherry
That's
Jones.
lesbian
yeah.
icon Cherry
Cherry
Jones.
Jones.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man, Sarah Paulson is all about the older women. Good for her.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's her thing.
That's her thing.
Is Diane
Zac Efron.
Wiest?
Like
I-
Zac Efron. She's the
she's-
Zac Efron of the real world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't intersect in any other way.
So
But,
we can wrap up their plot line by saying that towards the end, he realizes, Seth Meyers realizes that it's not that important, and their baby was actually born first. But he sees how much Sarah Paulson's and co. need the money because they have 3
They have
kids.
3
Yeah,
kids. They will
this is
have
their third.
3 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, this is their 3rd kid. So Seth Meyers lies and said that his baby was born second, and they get the money, and they live happily ever
Seth
after.
Meyers
Sweet,
realizes, you know what matters? We have a happy, healthy baby and a good family.
Also, he's about to be a successful. Is he a vet? Is he going to be a vet or a doctor?
Vet.
Vet.
vets are doctors.
I know.
But at the same time, no.
Yeah, the OBGYN is played by Carla Gugino,
Yeah,
who is
who
from
is
Watchmen.
fantastic.
She's like
Oh.
Jupiter.
She is a member of the gym I used to work at, and she's
No way.
very, very nice.
Is she
as is
good?
her husband.
I
They're-
like her.
They
She-
came in almost every day and could not be more friendly.
They tried to buy her out in that one of the early scenes. Like, well, we'll cut you in 60-40. And she's
Yeah.
like, I am a doctor.
Yeah.
I will not do that.
That was actually unscripted, that whole thing.
She became a doctor for the role.
And she took the oath seriously.
One of the only movies the only scenes I genuinely laughed at was when Jessica Biel's water broke.
Oh,
and
I love that
Seth
scene.
Meyers
Yeah.
was like fully panicking and tried calling a taxi inside the house. I genuinely was laughing. It is
And
so
he,
funny.
And then he was like, "Oh, of course they won't hear me here. I'll go downstairs where the cars live."
And then as he's walking out, he like forgets her.
Right.
And he turns around and goes, "Oh, you should come with me. We should both go."
That was
That's
very
like-
funny.
it was
That
so
was- yeah.
shout out to Seth Meyers making a movie funny that should have been funnier. Let's move on.
Yeah, what's next?
Series wrap on Seth Meyers. Who do we have next?
The Jensen and Laura story.
Ooh, got a lot of questions here.
Oy vey.
So Laura is Katherine Heigl.
I told you no one's names matter.
Yeah, you're right. Katherine Heigl, who was at one point America's sweetheart, is playing another rom-com character, but this time she is a high-end chef, and she's actually working at this Ahern Records party thing, right? Yes.
Yeah.
She's the caterer.
We find out that Jensen only took the gig so that it on the condition that she was the caterer.
Right.
Yes,
Says Cherry
Jensen.
Jones.
Jensen, who is a rock star in this Gary Marshall universe.
Jensen being John Bon Jovi.
Yes, that's played by John Bon Jovi.
Jonathan
Is
Bon
this the first time on your podcast
Jovi.
you've had Katherine Heigl?
Yes,
She's a rom-com
That can't be
mainstay.
true.
That can't be true.
it is true.
You think so?
Valentine's Day, was she not in that?
Well, that episode hasn't.
Hasn't
dropped.
it doesn't
No,
matter.
I know.
No,
but
she must have been in something
She-
that
No.
we did. Come
yeah,
on.
she's Katherine Heigl. She's been in only these kinds
Well,
of
then this
movies.
is a significant
Listen, we
moment if
haven't
it
done
is.
27 Dresses yet, which is one of my favorite movies, rom-com aside or not. And we haven't done a Katherine Heigl yet.
Oh, big
Huh.
deal, big deal.
That is a weirdly big deal. Are we
Yes.
okay? Are we doing the wrong
Well,
things?
we decided that we would hate her because someone said she was a little hard to work with, and then we decided to shun Katherine Heigl as a country. Even
Who
though we
said that she was hard to work with?
continue to let Christian Bale work. I can't.
Yeah,
You're gonna
no,
say Kristen Bell. I'm like, she's great.
She's too nice.
She's a sweetheart.
Katherine Heigl. Yeah, I got no comments with Katherine Heigl.
Anyway, Katherine Heigl is a high-end chef. Her sous chef is the busty and bubbly Sofia Vergara. 2012. So she
Bottom
wasn't
build.
bottom
on this
build
poster.
if you're alphabetical. Oops. Yes, Bon Jovi is a rock star, which in this universe he is also a rock star named Jensen. And
Which is a much worse name, but
they
go on.
yes, they both used to date, and so their whole plot line is he's like, "Take me back," and she's like, "No, you left me," and he's like, "Take me back,"
Oh,
and
'cause
she's
they
like,
were
"No, you
engaged.
left
She
me."
slaps him twice.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah.
Twice. Yeah, they were engaged to be wed, and he got cold feet.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the way it happened, he was like, I called you so many times after. And she was like, but you left me. But I called you. It's not like he left her at the altar. It was he proposed to her and then chickened out, right?
They moved in together.
Came back, I guess.
Yeah, and then was like, I made a mistake. And she was like, you left me. I'm like, he clearly tried a long time ago to fix this.
She was like, I didn't get to cook you one meal in that apartment. And you left me, and I was like...
That wasn't really a big deal to her. She kept saying, like, I didn't get to cook one meal.
It was a big deal.
I have a
question about...
do it later, yeah.
I have a little question about the casting.
Yeah.
We got John Bon Jovi, Common, and
John
Ludacris.
Yes.
3 musicians. Were they out of actors?
Apparently, but that movie was chock full of actors.
There were a lot of actors.
They were out.
But
Leah Michelle's a singer, too.
That is...
No,
hey, Marco?
she's more of an actor.
Hey, Marco?
Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out.
Third time. If he does it one more time, it is no longer funny.
Yeah, then I mean it.
Then we break the rules of threes, and then we really mean business.
So, similar to like when Michelle Pfeiffer forgives Zac Efron, Katherine Heigl at one point just like is looking at Bon Jovi and just says, truce, and he's like, truce, as if he was going to be like, no, I'm still mad at me.
Yeah.
Truly out of nowhere. It's actually, Sofia Vergara's like, what happened? And he's like, I will tell you. And then he does, and in the background you see Katherine Heigl, who's been listening the whole time.
From
and
a
she's
long
like,
distance away.
Yeah, and she's like, truce, and he's like, yup.
And from there, they just kind of, their romance rebuds. Honestly, that's it.
Yeah.
There's not that much to this plot line.
Sofia Vergara is there to flirt with Jensen the entire time.
Yep.
She is great. She is fantastic. She says at one point, and I wrote it phonetically, so I'm just going to read it phonetically, but not in her voice.
Great.
Okay.
Do you think Jensen will sign a banana? I don't have any paper. I think she stretches out paper so long.
Oh, the way she does like paper.
Paper.
Yeah.
She's great. She's
She is
great.
funny. There was the one funny line that was like, in my country, when a man gets down on one knee, it's either to propose or because he got shot.
Or both,
Sometimes
she
both.
says.
Yeah.
That's so funny. It's so hard not to impersonate her accent because it's got such a beautiful like rhythm to it.
Right,
It's like
right.
musical.
My one comment on Katherine Heigl in this story is she's slicing pineapple in every scene. She's only slicing
The
pineapple.
props department only had pineapple.
It's pretty preliminary, like cooking stuff. Like toward the beginning, she says, "All right, guys, big night tonight. So if anyone has any sauces, let's get those going now." And it's like, yeah,
A lot of foodstuffs coming out. A lot of
she
edible
basically like,
things.
why don't we get those ovens preheated and get those bowls washed?
So the only other thing to note about Bon Jovi is that he is also after this party running to the ball dropping to sing in Times Square
Right, with some backup singers
with
that
some
we'll get to
backup
later.
singers that which we'll get to. So what's the next story?
Speaking of which, the elevator story is next on the list.
Ashton Kutcher.
Dumb Ashton
Leah
Kutcher.
Michelle.
So you know how in a lot of rom-coms they're like, ugh, I hate Valentine's Day. Ashton Kutcher's whole thing is, ugh, I hate New Year's Eve.
What a dumb thing.
Yeah.
He didn't even do the thing that they do in rom-coms where it's like, my girlfriend and I really loved New Year's together.
Yeah.
And now that we're broken up, I hate New Year's. They didn't even do that.
Well,
Yeah.
Leah Michelle kind of references that. So
Kind of.
yeah, this one they're trapped in the elevator,
Right.
and he's a comic book artist
Yes.
and a slacker.
More like a
She's,
fucking con.
Am I right?
And she's a backup singer for John Bon Jensen, and she has somewhere to be, and he like calls her a groupie, and then she's like feels negatively towards him.
have you know I'm not a groupie. That's
Yeah,
my
she went to
Leah
classic
Michelle.
Juilliard.
Leah Michelle. Yeah, and they flirt, and he like somehow creates a New Year's in the elevator.
Well, because he was taking down all the decorations in the hallway, and so in the elevator was going to go throw out all the decorations. Leah Michelle gets in, and she's like, "I gotta go to work," and then he has all the decorations. So they make New Year's Eve happen, and
she sings a song
She
on
sings.
a radio. Was the radio always there?
no, it was okay. So eventually, when he finds out that she's a singer, he's like, "Sing for me," which, guys, don't do this. If anyone tells you they're a singer or an actor, don't ever be like, "Act for me" or
Do
"Sing
it. Be
for
funny
me."
right now.
That happened
Yeah.
to me, not to make it like me.
Me,
But I do
me.
stand up. I'm very talented. And I had a coworker once who was like, "Oh, you do stand up? All right, tell me a joke." Like in the most like cliche, like you see that in movies a lot. And in my head, I'm like, he knows that's not a thing. So I was just like, I just made some joke like, "Oh, you think I do that for free?" Blah, blah, which is true. I've never been paid for it. And he gets really serious and he's like, no, like do some of it. Really, I want to see. And I was like,
aggressive.
I'm working. No.
Yeah. Also, one person. That's does
awkward.
not an audience make. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot. So I did like a tight 5 and fucking nailed it.
Right. And he applauded. Yeah. Tears. Yeah.
He still did the 2-drink minimum, which was hysterical.
So the way Lea Michele ends up singing for him is that it's mixed. So we hear Jon Bon Jovi singing. What song is it?
Have a little faith in me.
Have a little faith in me at the fancy rich people party.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it's a coincidence that it's happening at the exact same time?
No. It's just supposed to be like storytelling. She's just singing a cappella to him.
No, I understand that.
In the elevator.
So you're saying that there's not a radio, but that it just so happens that they're singing at the exact same time.
Well, I wasn't even thinking
Either
about
one
it
is
like
dumb,
that.
Yeah, I don't think they're like singing at the exact same time. I think it's like she was singing at that time. He was singing that time, and as a
editing. So they didn't have to do an acapella. Yeah, so they didn't have to do an acapella song. But who produced this? It was so poorly mixed. Like I kept thinking, I was like, they're not blended. They're singing in harmony, and they sound like they did sound like they were in 2 very different rooms.
In the words of Run the Jewels, "Fuck what you rapping. Who produced you?"
Yeah.
I wish Ashton Kutcher had said that.
He's like, let me out of this goddamn elevator. That was nonsense.
Well, after they kiss, she runs to Times Square to be a backup singer for John Bon Jensen.
Jensen.
And
just real quick to specify, they actually don't kiss until she gets to Times Square. He chases after her and says, "Hey, you've left something in the elevator," and kisses her. And she's
no, they did kiss.
No, they were about to, but then the elevator opened, and then the world's oldest lady shuffled in.
Yeah, and then they get to there, and she's like, "Wow, I'm glad you came back for that." That's all.
And then he was wearing his pajamas, and
he
she was like,
magically appeared at Times Square. I don't know what subway he took. He just was like,
because he did also go back upstairs. To
get his Metro card because he was there immediately.
He was in his dumb pajama pants. Yeah.
I just want to clarify for any purists out there who are like, did they even watch it? Unfortunately, we did.
We did. We all did. It was an awful experience for all of us.
All right, guys, I got to keep you on track. We're almost done with this plot line.
No.
So she gets on stage, she does her backup singing. Oh, she's having fun, and then this circles us back to Katherine Heigl and him, who she's like dancing with him, having a good time, and she's like, "Wait, but if you're here, who's at Times Square?" And it's fucking Lea Michele singing an old-ass classical ballad. Old Lang Syne at the drop of midnight.
This has to go against the contract that she signed. She is breaking her contract right now. She should not be allowed to do this.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. It's also like every year on those things at midnight, they have like Pitbull come out
and
do like a high-energy song. They were like, let's have this person that no one knows sing a slow-ass song for a little while.
Slow-ass song in like Latin.
We're the New Year's Eve movie. We have to have the quintessential New Year's Eve song.
True.
Yes, but not then.
It couldn't be a Black Eyed Peas remix of it.
Old Lang Syne.
If your song begins with "May old acquaintance be forgot," it's not the bumpin' like Dick Clark rockin' New Year's Eve song. So everyone in the world listens to Lea Michele, a random backup singer, and boy is it stinky. Next.
That's it.
So after the elevator story, we have the mother and daughter story, which is the SJP and Abigail Breslin
stupid story.
Yeah, pretty dumb. It was entertaining, but dumb.
Yeah.
I want to say it was one of my least favorite.
It doesn't matter. This story does not matter in the grand scheme of things.
Basically, Abigail Breslin wants to kiss Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yeah,
that's who that was?
JT Austin.
Oh, Jay.
She wants to
kiss
kiss
a real
him.
babe nowadays.
I bet. He was handsome in this.
Yeah, he was like, you could tell he was like getting cute in this movie, but it was still weird to talk about.
Right,
but, like, I'm
right.
sure he's a babe now.
Yeah.
I still feel like an icky aunt saying that, but it's fine.
Sarah Jessica Parker is the mom. She's very protective. She's like, my baby doesn't go out on New Year's Eve. My baby stays home with me and watches the ball drop. And Abigail Breslin's like, I'm trying to get fucking smooched.
and
she says
she's
that.
like, look, I'm not wearing a training bra. I'm an adult woman.
Yeah, she's like, this is not a training bra. And Sarah Jessica Parker says, and this is not Girls Gone Wild.
I watched the trailer before I rented on Amazon, and that was in the trailer.
Yep, sure was.
Good.
Abigail Breslin talks like she has an English accent and is trying to hide it.
That's Abigail Breslin all the time.
It's like,
though.
it's weird. It was real weird.
She lost her Little Miss Sunshine spark.
She gained her like Scottish woman.
Hi, Pagoda Mom. Wait, that's Irish.
I want to like her so bad because I loved Little Miss Sunshine, and obviously I want her to continue doing well. And also, she's just such a normal looking girl, and I always just want like the normal looking girl to do well. But there's just something so stale about her acting.
I saw her in a play last year, and it just. I wanted to be like, oh, Abigail Breslin, this is exciting.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't.
Was it Billy Elliot?
It was Billy Elliot.
She was the titular
She
Billy
was
Elliot?
Wilhelmina Elliot.
No, the part of it, not entirely her fault. I mean,
True.
rest in peace, Gary Marshall, but I don't know
boy,
what
oh boy.
a deft hand he had at that directing.
Rest in peace,
Yeah,
Zac
right?
Efron. Yeah.
Yeah, so their relationship was, honestly, by that little intro that we just gave you know exactly what their plot line is going to be. A lot of back and forth. They get to like a sort of a climax point of angry with each other.
Yeah.
And then they go...
She sneaks away to Times
Yeah, they
Square.
go quiet for a bit.
She says to her mom, like, it's because you don't have a man, which
Yeah.
I found
Yeah.
so bizarre.
Which
Clunky
is,
and
I
weird.
guess, really just said to hint that Sarah Jessica Parker needs a man, baby.
Yeah.
Where's that man
Where's
gonna
that
go?
Josh Duhamel?
Yeah. That'll fix everything.
Yeah, and she insults her clogs, and I thought her clogs were cute.
I was thinking
Two
that
people insult her
everyone
clogs, and
is
they're nice
yes.
clogs.
Zac Efron insults the
They're so
clogs
hard
too,
on
and
them.
I'm like, she is a seamstress at a very
For
busy
the
Radio Rock.
Rockettes,
Yes,
yeah.
the Radio City Rockettes. I mean, she's got to have some comfort.
SJP is a fashion icon.
Yes, and also I think my roommate has those shoes, and she's a very fashionable woman.
She's a
She in a
fashion-forward
relationship?
folk.
What?
Is she in a relationship?
My
It's
roommate?
the
Yeah.
clogs.
No,
Yeah.
she's not.
Well, I think we know what the reason is. It's because of the clogs.
Yeah, everything else would get real stitched up. If
She just got a man.
Also, like, Sarah Jessica Parker's like, my God, I can't look out the window. And it's like, city kids are not that sheltered in general. Like, city kids grow up quick.
They do.
I think Upper West Side rich parents like that maybe do. But I
Maybe.
could see her being a real
They were
mom.
deep in Brooklyn off the J train.
Oh,
Were they?
Their Myrtle Avenue was the stop.
that's right.
I don't know if that's deep in Brooklyn, but that's Brooklyn and the J.
Yeah, the rest of her friends were out on the street.
Right outside the spa
they were all
from
homeless.
Bali.
So I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe
All
Upper West Side
urchins.
parents can, but they seem like a versed like city.
Okay.
They didn't seem like a versed city to do it because they weren't, but they should have been.
Even if they're in Brooklyn, the vibe that Sarah Jessica Parker gives me is Upper West Side mom.
She does, yeah.
Even if she is in
Constantly.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, which she does live on the Upper West Side.
Yes,
I
she
know
literally
because
does.
a friend of mine in college, she lives on the Upper West Side, and her neighbor is Sarah Jessica Parker.
So we know where she lives, and we can egg
Yes,
her
she's on
house
like
if
Broad.
ever we
She's
want
on
her
like she's on like Central Park West and 90 something. I can't remember exactly.
My cousin John works in construction, and Sarah Jessica Parker almost walked into like a really hazardous area, and he stopped her, and she was so grateful. She like bought him coffee and was like
Aw.
super chill.
Oh, I feel like she's very sweet. My mom fucking hates her.
A lot of people do.
A lot of
and,
people do,
She's
yeah.
the butt of a lot of jokes. She's harmless. Like,
I think
Yeah,
I think
just
she's
there.
nice. Yeah.
real quick, someone was telling me once that they saw Matthew Broderick, who was his wife,
Yes.
her husband, walking down the street.
Mr.
Matthew
Buellerton.
Broderick, yeah, if you will. Matthew Broderick and SJP were walking down the street one time, and someone went, "Hey, oh my God, it's Michael J. Fox!" And they said that Matthew Broderick and Sarah Jessica Parker like cracked up.
That's funny.
It's Michael J. Fox. That is so
but they were
funny.
talking to SJP.
Ooh, burn.
Anyway, so Abigail Breslin, she's late to her New Year's kiss with Waverly Place. So some girl runs up to him, and Abigail Breslin sees him kiss another girl, and she's very upset. But then almost immediately he comes and finds her and is like, "I didn't want to kiss that random girl. She kissed me. I wanted to kiss you, Abigail Breslin." And then they smooch and everything's fine. Abigail Breslin goes out with her friends, and Sarah Jessica Parker is like alone. And Abigail Breslin's like, "You should go to your thing, Mom. Let's find out what her thing is later. ...
Yeah.
That's actually brings us to the final plot line.
It's the final plot line.
And probably this will probably be shorter than Robert De Niro's storyline.
Because it doesn't matter.
This was actually my least favorite plot line.
Really?
This sucked ass.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't hate
And not in a good way.
I didn't like it either.
It was
It's
dumb.
just not. It's not important. But none
nothing.
of these were important at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's Amazon calls it the Ahern Party because that's his last name. He's revealed to be Ahern Records heir to the Ahern
Oh,
Records
that's
throne.
right. So Josh
See,
Duhamel.
I didn't even get that his last.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
Cherry Jones's mom is Mrs. Ahern,
Mrs.
and it's
Ahern.
implied that his
Diane
father
Wiest.
recently died. Yeah, the uncredited Diane Wiest. It's implied that his dad died, and not implied, explicitly stated. And then he, we just see a coffin, and no one speaks of it.
They were real subtle about it.
It's a clear coffin.
It was really show,
Yeah, it was
don't
like,
tell.
He had a name
Lennon.
tag.
No, and then he like has to give a speech because he's like the heir, and and so he has a hard time getting to the city because why is he upstate?
Is he upstate?
He was at his friend's wedding who didn't matter. He could have been upstate for literally
Anything
any
else.
reason.
That was so insignificant.
because it was his two friends getting married in a wedding of no other audience members.
It almost
Audience
And
felt
I
like
members.
made
a
a
Vegas
joke about
wedding.
it, but it didn't matter because
It was confusing.
We didn't know those people.
Yeah.
For sure. And they never come back up again. And
No. Josh Duhamel gets in a car crash because he's very, he's Michael Scott following
he's
his
shouting
GPS,
at his GPS.
where the GPS is, driving to the river. And he's like, okay, and
it
crashes.
never seemed more 2012 than that
Right.
GPS. Or sorry, 2011, on the cusp of 2012.
Yeah.
Than in that one scene with that GPS.
He was like, oh, man, you told me to drive into a tree. Guess I have to do it. And he does.
Do you guys want to hear a creepy, quick story about a GPS
I
Haley
would
was
love to,
present
always.
for?
Oh, yes, I was there. Yes, do tell.
We were driving in the car
To Atlantic City.
Atlantic City with our friend Georgie. Georgie was driving. Haley was in the front seat playing co-pilot, and I was in the back just chilling out.
Oh yeah.
And we had the GPS going, and it's one of those ones that talk to you. So it's like, in 2.4 miles, take a right on blah, 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 blah.
So a GPS.
A GPS, if you
So
will.
all GPS.
So at one point, we all start talking at the same time loudly, just about something. We're all having a big discussion about something that's very loud and frantic in the car, lots of voices. And we all hear under our voices, the GPS goes, "You're stressing me out."
We swear to you we heard it.
All of us heard it. We still talk about it a lot to this day.
No way.
No,
like
it
that.
wasn't you're stressing
I like
me
that
out. It
ghost.
was this route is stressing me out. That's what it was.
No, I don't think it was.
No, it was.
I heard, "You're stressing me out."
Well,
I
it
don't
was
like either
this-
of those
it
Is it
was-
one of your
About it.
phone's GPS?
it was in the car GPS.
It was this route is stressing me
What
out.
kind of GPS was it?
Possessed? I don't know.
You bought it from a shop that when you went back, the shop disappeared.
Yeah. It's been
It was
closed for
just
40
like
years.
it was
Right,
just
right,
our
yeah.
Google Maps or Yahoo Maps or whatever it was.
Don't like that.
I think it said
Crazy.
Zach, you're stressing me out.
Zachary, you'll die in 40 years.
The
Don't
same
eat that
day
pancake.
as Zac Efron. All Zacs will die on.
I can guarantee sooner or later that is true.
That is true.
Yeah.
At some point.
I hope so. There's some shitty Zacs out there. They need to go.
Yeah, so he has to hitchhike, sort of, or not
yeah.
hitchhike, more like the pastor's
The
brother.
pastor from the wedding.
Yeah, gives him a ride because his family's going to see the Rockettes.
Right. At
When
some
I don't know.
time.
So they have this big
4 in
trailer.
the
The
morning.
pastor's driving, and he hops in and he's on his way. And in the car, he tells a story about how last New Year's Eve he was doing his annual speech at this fancy party. And stepped out and met this girl, and they talked all night, and it was amazing. But he never got her name, and they even had a New Year's kiss. And she sent a really cryptic handwritten note when he went to the bathroom
Yeah.
and came back, where she was like, "I'm busy and confused. If you still think about me in a year, come back to this exact location."
Or it was like Gambino's Deli or something.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
that, but it was something like
Go to the Dunkin' Donuts on 48th and 9th.
that. Go to the 7-Eleven in Times Square.
Go to
Order
Port
2
Authority.
taquitos. They'll know
Buy
what you mean.
6 glazed donuts. Eat them all.
Then I'll know you're serious.
So he decides to do that because he really liked her because
Even though he bangs 7 women at once with his
yeah,
weird 7
that's
forked
like his
penis.
character. That's his characteristic. He's like, I'm an old guy who bangs young guys.
Yeah.
He's not an
A
old guy.
womanizer.
He's
It's
just an
weird that
older
he
guy.
has half as many penises as most men.
Right.
It's sad, really.
Right, guys?
It is gross,
Yeah.
right?
We're getting blue.
Lisa Simpson was on that
Yes.
Was it Lisa or Bart?
I looked it up. It was Lisa.
I just knew it was
and
a
the
Simpson
grandpa
kid.
in the RV's all like, "Did you boink her?"
Yeah,
He's like really
and the
sexual.
kids like high five, and it's really weird. Yeah.
Fucking.
God, Grandpa, tell us another one of your bone tales.
And there's a whole scene about that.
Yeah, that was graphic.
A flashback. Oh boy, John Hamm was there. Anyway, let's go on.
Yeah, John Hamm is always in a comedy flashback, isn't he?
Anyway, let's finish this one.
Yes, you guys get so
storyline.
distracted. I can't keep
we all get
control of
distracted.
you. So he really likes Sarah Jessica Parker. Oh my God, I gave it away. Uh-oh. Big spoiler alert. He shows up to the deli again a year later.
It's been closed for
It's like a
while.
pizzeria. I just called it Gambino's Deli because I felt like it was cool.
Gambino's something.
He shows up and he's like, "Oh, this place is closed. She's never coming," and just mopes and kicks the dirt a little bit.
He's there for a while.
Yeah.
He's kicking the dirt, looking all sad, and then
Hey, that's a mean Sarah Jessica Parker joke.
Hey,
Yeah, that's dated.
hey, that's funny. That's
wow,
funny.
you got me. Funny. No, she literally comes in on a horse and carriage, and she's in a beautiful dress that she made for herself.
No
And
clogs.
No clogs.
clogs.
She's got some really strappy, stiletto
world's
silver
highest heels, yeah.
very high. And surprise, Sarah Jessica Parker was the girl, and now they're kissing and they're together.
How? I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, go on.
Where do you think they were in the city? Because in this movie, New York is 3 blocks.
Yes, it looked like Little Italy.
It did look like Little Italy.
But it was way too not popular. It was way
Exactly.
too
There was
depopulated
nobody
to be.
there.
But it was supposed to be close to the celebrity party, which took place at the Brooklyn Museum.
Is that
They
that
never
true?
said it in the movie, but when I saw it, it's clearly the Brooklyn,
Brooklyn
Museum,
Museum.
where they filmed
yeah.
the fancy party.
Huh.
And all of the gated events at the Times Square party, they said they were like, "Oh no, you're on 56th Street. You need to go to 54th Street. 10 blocks from where
I think
Times
they
Square
don't
is."
think that anybody watching this movie has been.
That's
to New
the
York City,
thing.
knows
Yeah,
anything about
yeah.
New York City.
They check IDs before you buy a ticket. Are you from New York?
You're from.
Yeah,
oh, you
right,
can't see
yeah.
this. All right.
No, down the hall. Go see something else. Go see Cars too.
Go see Smallfoot.
Now, does anything else that we missed that we covered in the beginning correlate beside... No, I think we connected them
It's
all.
just SJP coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big one.
right.
And then they all go to the party and raise your glass till you go
wrong.
home.
And
And
everybody's
everybody's I am here for now. And there will never be no one stand alive. We'll live forever. Everyone is peace.
One of us is singing the right
Better
lyrics.
do-
hey, Happy New Year's, you guys.
Happy
Happy
New Year's.
New
We
Year.
did it.
That's New Year's
If
Eve.
you listen to this at what I guess 11:03 right now, you would have. It's New Year's. Yeah. If you listen to this at 11:03 on December 31st, it is no acquaintance. Leah, you're here.
Hey, everybody, it's me. Leah.
Also, Edward, this is going to be edited, so that time will not match up. But anyway, that was New Year's Eve. We're going to take a quick breather, and we'll be right back, and we're going to rate this puppy.
Woo! All right, we're back, and we're gonna rate this movie, and we're gonna have to generalize a lot here. But Marco, do you want to tell the loving crowd at home what we've decided to rate this movie out of?
We're rating this movie out of 5 clogs.
Yes.
Sexless, libido-killing.
Need a man, clogs.
Oh
Clogs.
yeah.
Chemistry is first up on the docket. I'm going with
Just sort of like an average for,
Yeah.
for
For
everyone.
everyone?
Yeah.
An average for everyone.
the
Okay.
1.5. I didn't really buy most of it.
Yeah, it's with these movies, it's like nobody has enough screen time for any chemistry to really ring out. I think the closest maybe was Ashton Kutcher and Lea Michele.
Yeah.
But they're so
But-
weird looking together that it
Yeah.
just doesn't work.
And they were at such different levels of fame back then too.
Right,
It felt
right.
like it was just like, why are they in an elevator together?
Yeah.
I think 1.5 is the same for me,
1.5
too.
feels right for you. How about you, Eddie?
5 for Michelle Pfeiffer and Zac Efron.
Oh,
0 for everyone
yes.
else. So,
So
a
does
nice
head average, too.
1.5.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I guess
No,
I'll
yeah.
do 1.5 also, just to keep it right. Keep it
I think
right.
It's
Keep
a
it
good
tight.
point. It's hard to I think we brought up that the conflicts are so quickly resolved because you can't spend too much time with anybody.
Right.
That I think that in rom-coms, like, conflict is such a thing.
A
Like, people get mad,
force,
they don't talk, and then they make up. That's like such a convention of rom-coms.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they had to do like 8 miniature versions of those.
Yes, and all of them were just like, okay, I forgive you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had to get to the next point.
You didn't
Yeah.
even quite say you're sorry, but well, we don't have much time.
Best friends or supporting cast.
Yeah, it's tough.
This one did okay with in regards to Sofia Vergara.
Yeah,
And
she was
Hector
great.
Elizondo is always a delight.
He's always trying.
He's always trying. Alyssa Milano was there.
I don't know if she counts as a best friend.
John Lithgow was there. Carrie Elwes was also there.
her little teen friends, that Jake Austen and company.
Sure. They existed. These were all actors who were hired.
The closest
Common.
to the actual reason we created this rating was Sofia Vergara. That was the closest to what this rating was supposed to be for. If this were the story of just Laura the cook and Bon Jovi, Sofia Vergara would be the best friend role.
And she'd be pretty. I would
rate her
high.
highly. Yeah.
And you know what? I think that there was really only room for maybe like one of her type in this. I think if every plotline or even
Had,
a
like, a
handful
wacky
had that,
friend.
it'd be
Yeah.
exhausting.
She does fall into that stereotype of like the funny ethnic
kind of over-sexualized
And she
friend.
doesn't have her own
does
story.
her job well. Like I laughed a
She
few
cuts pineapple.
times.
Oh, you meant
What?
actress's
yeah,
job.
as a cook.
Cutting
I
pineapple.
meant Sofia Vergara's job, but also her character does an amazing job cutting pineapple.
Throwing little parachutes out
I
of a
think-
window.
Because Sofia Vergara was strong and because the movie knew not to overstuff it with those types of characters,
Yeah.
I'm going with a 3.5.
Okay, I was gonna say a 3, just
I-
because I could have used like a little more, because I think that would have made more comedy.
I agree.
I say 3 as well. I think they should have given Zac Efron a friend like Michael B. Jordan, like in that awkward moment they're friends. Like I expect.
Yes.
I think
him
that
to come in.
he was closer to that friend role. Did he not have his own plot line?
Right.
Yeah.
Because he was
definitely.
Ashton Kutcher's friend.
He felt like the best friend in the film,
Right,
but he had
right.
like a lead.
I say 3.
Okay, so
close.
3 as well.
okay, so we got
kinda
3,
same
3,
points.
3, 3.5. Now, romance. Now, this differs from the chemistry, which is the actor's actual chemistry. This is the romance, the actual written romance. Was this romantic?
It wasn't not romantic,
Yeah, you're
Sure.
right.
but it also was lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite scenes in the movie weren't necessarily romantic. I liked Jessica Biel and Seth Meyers. That made me laugh.
Oh, they had good.
Yeah,
romance
but it wasn't like
it wasn't romance, I guess, yeah.
romance scene where it's like, oh, I love you.
Not in the
was
spirit
my Latin
of
lover
That was
voice.
your Seth Meyers
Sophia?
voice. Yeah.
no, not in the spirit of what you probably intended by this category.
Yes.
Not what.
I'm trying to remember what was romantic now.
Ashton Kutcher and Lea Michele didn't really have the time to be romantic.
Michelle Pfeiffer and Zac Efron, SJP.
Gross.
They
Josh
had that
Duhamel.
sex scene, but that was weird.
They had that fingering scene in the subway. That was very upsetting.
When she fingered him, yeah, it was really weird.
Guys, it is not that type of podcast.
Marco, you can curse, but you cannot
Yeah.
make oblique
Bring up
references.
That
male fingering.
No,
That is not our brand.
He says grosser things every single episode I have to cut out because he says disgusing things. Both of you. You say disgusting things and then you go, you have to cut that out. It's not our
Fine.
brand.
Give
And
me
I'm
a
like,
beat, Edward.
No. God.
Oh,
I always have to cut this stuff out.
Yeah. I was fucking this girl the other day. She said, "Ooh, baby, that feels okay." But I said, "Can I make it feel a little better?" So I brought in my friend Pearl Jam's Eddie Vedder. Then we double teamed her on this couch. Everybody said, "Ooh, Oscar the Grouch." Yeah, it became a gangbang with me, Eddie Vedder, and Oscar the Grouch. Then I had my bar mitzvah. Did I mention that I'm 13 and getting really in touch with Judaism? It's a schism. Now I feel seen. All right.
Oh, beautiful.
Stuff like that he does every fucking episode.
cut that.
And then he goes, you're going to have to cut that. It's not our brand. We're not disgusting like that. I'm like, but maybe it is because you won't stop being disgusting.
Maybe you're changing your brand.
Bring it back, Marco.
No.
Go.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Romance.
This is completely out of the blue, but you know one thing that actually did make me laugh?
What?
I thought in the mother-daughter story, Piper's mom hiding in the bushes.
Oh,
Yes.
That
Yeah.
actually made me laugh out
And
loud.
Yeah.
he was like, "Who is that?"
Yes, that was
Yeah.
funny.
That was
Waverly
legitimately
Place was
funny.
funny. That
I
yeah.
thought it was funny in Times Square, like the ball drops and someone tries to kiss her, and she like pushes
Yes.
them away.
Right.
What if it would be dark if you were like into it? I'd be like,
Yeah.
she needed a story.
Yeah, that was definitely underrated character. She was pretty funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was very over the top character-y, but it was like pretty funny,
It was
especially
almost like a
with
30 Rock joke.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was very 30 Rocky. It was very like Rachel Dratch would play that role.
Which,
Yeah.
like, because Seth Meyers said some really silly things. Sofia
Yeah.
Vergara was a very silly character. We laughed at this very silly mom. I feel like if they had leaned into that more,
It could be a funny movie.
could have been a funnier movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Romance though. We're talking romance,
Right,
baby.
right.
2.
Sure.
I echo
Yeah,
Zach's too.
I'm a 2 too. It's just kind of lukewarm. It's not
yeah.
unromantic. They tried. It's
think
not like
if-
they didn't try.
If you're weighing them all together, a lot of them bring it down. So like maybe 1 or 2 of them could be higher.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
the others
That's-
that bring it down.
That's
Yeah.
why I don't even go with like a clear even 2.5. I
Yeah.
think
It's
it's
just a
little
lukewarm
less
two.
than
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give me a 2 as well.
Nice 2s across the board.
2.
Now, comedy. We gave our little debrief on what we thought was funny. And it was like what every other plot line had a character who was funny, kind of.
It's mostly not funny.
It's
Right,
mostly
right,
not
right.
funny.
I think for every funny-ish like line, there's 3 attempts that are not funny at
Of
all.
course.
Cancel
yeah.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is that? Like I'm a 2 again. I'm not lower than a 2 because that
Give
feels
me-
insulting to the parts
Give me
that
a
I did
2
enjoy.
as well, because there were parts where I was like, "Oh, that's really funny," but then you guys are right. The majority of the film, I was like, "Oh, that
I'm going
was
to do
a
a
joke."
2.25.
2.25. Loving the specificity.
Yeah.
Zachary?
That Piper's mom, she just,
Yeah.
what a kick.
Yeah, that was a kick.
Yeah, I didn't not laugh, and there were a lot of attempts at it, so I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt. And 2.25 actually sounds super right for
That's
some
nice.
reason.
That's nice.
Great.
I was kind of distraught between 2 and 2.5, so I'm glad
So this
that
is a good.
we could do that.
yeah.
Yeah. So we're just gonna add these up and let you know what the rating's looking like.
Okay. Do that math.
You should insert like a sound effect of like a calculator. Or
Yeah, I was thinking
People
that
pop, people,
actually.
people
Do you pay your Wi-Fi bill over the phone? Because whenever I do that, they're like, "We're processing."
Yeah, you
Like,
should get
don't
the sound
pretend
bite of
that you're like typing. Yeah.
Yeah, like right next to the phone. Like,
Yeah, it's an old lady with like that red purple dyed hair and her
Right,
long
yeah, and her long
fingernails.
fingernails.
it's a Foley
Hang
artist.
on.
The Foley artist like
All right.
touching
Just
bugs.
ASMR. Tick, tick, tick. Anyway.
All right, guys, we've added up the scores, and New Year's Eve gets 9 out of 20 clogs.
Sexless,
marriageless,
disgusting.
sad,
Libido
lonely
killing.
clogs. Ooh, what a movie!
4.5 women wearing sexless
That
clothes.
feels right.
That
Yeah.
feels right.
This was fine. I don't know. Watched on a plane.
I think it's worse than fine.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, it's pretty. Marco, you asked a question before, and we're
Yes.
going to talk about it now. You asked us, what does New Year's mean to you?
Yes.
And I think we can go around and say that. And also, what's everyone's New Year's resolutions looking like, if you've thought about it?
Or even vague plans that
Yeah,
y'all
they don't
are
have to be
doing.
anything too intense. Marco, you're the guest. We will start with you.
What does New Year's mean to me? New Year's is usually when I watch the Twilight Zone marathon on Sci-Fi. I don't know if any of you guys did that growing up.
That and 4th of July.
Yeah,
Dynamite.
I usually don't even want to go out because I want to stay home and watch Twilight Zone, but I feel obligated to. My New Year's plans are never consistent. My resolution to stop kicking dogs. No, I
Oh God.
No, yeah, I read the news. Yeah.
resolution. Probably to move out of my parents' house.
Nice.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, you're all looking at me.
Yeah.
It felt natural.
Haley?
All right, skip over that guy. I'll be here for New Year's in this recording booth. They lock me in. They don't let me out
Here at the Headphone
until
Studios.
right. Yeah. No, I'll be here. I don't really have resolutions. This is kind of like a boring, pretentious thing to say, but I don't think.
You don't believe in bettering yourself,
No.
you asshole. Sorry.
I think if you have to choose an arbitrary date to start doing something to better yourself, you're not actually going to do it.
Sure.
So I don't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna save exercising until this coming week.
Well, that's how people feel about Christmas sometimes, that like people only get gifts and are kind to each other once a year. They say like it should be all year.
Exactly.
Why is it only once a year?
Exactly. Yeah. So it doesn't mean much to me in terms of other than like, oh, I get to see my friends and we get to like hang out around midnight.
Yeah. So my aunt is very like kind of hippie-ish spiritual. So actually every once in a while when there's a new moon, she has me write my intentions down. So I kind of do this like a lot. But so I've been doing that. But also last year I actually kept a resolution for like the first time ever, which was to practice my guitar more, and I got much better this year. I am very proud of myself, and that's just pat on my back.
Most people don't keep up with their resolutions.
That is true.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't practice as consistently as I wanted, but I definitely got better, so I'm really proud of myself. I always say I'm gonna like lose 1 billion pounds and turn into a skinny model, but the thing is, I am a skinny model all the time, so why try?
Exactly.
And we should just hang here, which I love because it's my home.
New Year's to me feels like kind of what Edward was saying, but in one way I kind of think of it like not so much like, okay, on this date I'm going to start doing things, but like, oh, this signifies like the next little phase of like of what's going on. So not like I'm going to start doing things by here, but like, oh, now I can think in a mindset like, all right, what is coming down the pipeline for me? What would I like to get done in the next span of time sometimes? I think New Year's sometimes can be a solid reminder of that. Again, not so much like a you have to start on this date thing, but more like a all right, so like, what do you want to do? Like, it's a moment of reflection.
You don't have to think about the past year. You can think about.
You're like, all right, what would I like to get done? Like, if we're counting like years exist, like, what would I like to see for myself in the next 12 months? For example, because it does exist. So
yeah, because it's more like, well, what did you do the last year, and what would you have done differently? Now change that this year if you didn't like it. Sure. Yeah. I like New Year's.
So I think a lot of people are feeling the effects of Christmas, like they're feeling like worn out by the holiday season coming to a close.
Yeah.
And my resolutions, I want to listen more. Listen more and listen better. Like definitely listen better, because I think that that would be beneficial to the people that I care about. Because I don't always listen the best.
That's nice. Mine's so superficial now.
And I also want to fucking catch a fish with my bare hands, baby. You know what it is. Yeah. I'm going to catch a big old fucking fish. Ow.
Did anyone hear knocking?
It's Zach.
It was Zach. He was high-fiving everyone in the studio.
Yeah. I was tapping.
Oh, God.
I was tapping on the chair.
Someone was angrily bursting into our apartment.
Jack, stop talking about New Year's.
Catching fish.
Excuse me, this is Harlem. Don't catch fish here.
Yeah, Zach was talking to the producer.
Paw? That's my cat.
So is that it on New Year's Eve?
Series wrap on
Series wrap on 2018.
Gosh, I hope so.
Series
Yeah,
wrap
that's true.
2018. Before we go, Marco, where can the people find you? Can the people find you?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Fleetwood Marco. You can find me on Instagram at Marco Rummo, which you will see how to spell my name in the episode description. And yeah, I work at the UCB. You could see me at the UCB every Monday.
Hell's Kitchen.
That's right. Yeah, don't go to the East Village yelling for me. I won't be there.
Don't go to Hell's Kitchen yelling for him either. That's just rude.
Yeah. Right, be very polite.
That's my place of work.
Say I'm here to talk to comic legend Marco Rummo. And yeah.
Wow, Marco, thank you again for being here. You're a blast. You're a charm. And everyone who listened, whether this is your first time listening or your 20th time listening, this has been really fun since August, and we're excited to dive into the new year and do more. So thank you for listening. We hope you didn't hate it. We hope you even enjoyed it, and that you'll come back and hear what we have to talk about next week.
I hope you stay really far away.
That's what Haley hopes. Edward?
You're fine. Do what you want. It's 2019. It's the year of doing what you want.
And speaking of doing what you want, starting next week, The Meet Cute presents The McConaissance.
All right.
We'll see you next time on The Meet Cute. Thank you.